The Incredible Life of Seraphim of Sarov. In 18th century Russia, in the quiet town of Kursk, a boy was born who would later become one of the most influential spiritual figures in Russian history. His name was Prokhor Moshnin. At first, his life seemed ordinary. He was born in 1759 into a merchant family. His father owned a brick factory and had begun building a cathedral, but he died before it was finished. From that moment on, Prokhor's mother raised him alone. Despite the hardship, Prokhor grew up surrounded by faith. As a child, he loved going to church. While others played, he would stand quietly, praying, reading, and listening. He learned quickly. He had a strong memory. But more than that, he felt drawn to something deeper, something beyond the visible world. A life set apart. As a young boy, Prokhor became seriously ill several times. According to tradition, he experienced visions of the Virgin Mary and recovered in ways people could not explain. Whether these moments were miracles or not, they changed him. From then on, he believed his life belonged to God. When he told his mother he wanted to become a monk, she did not stop him. Instead, she gave him a simple copper cross. He wore it for the rest of his life. Leaving everything behind. In 1776, Prokhor made a decision that would shape his entire future. He left home. On foot, he traveled as a pilgrim to the cave monastery in Kiev. There, he prayed and searched for direction. He met a spiritual elder named Dosithius, who told him, "Go to Sarov." After saying goodbye to his family, Prokhor followed that advice. In 1778, at just 19 years old, he arrived at the Sarov monastery. A deeper calling, life in the monastery was strict and disciplined. Prokhor began with simple tasks, cleaning, baking, working with wood. But even among monks, he stood out. He didn't just want to follow rules. He wanted something deeper, a direct, living connection with God. After 8 years, he took his monastic vows and received a new name, Seraphim. Soon after, he was ordained as a hierodeacon. But instead of seeking a higher position, he chose something harder. He withdrew into the forest, alone in the wilderness. In a small wooden hut, far from the monastery, Seraphim lived as a hermit for about 25 years. His life became extremely simple. He prayed, he fasted, he lived in silence. He wore the same clothes in summer and winter. He grew his own food and kept bees. Over time, his body weakened and walking became painful. Still, he continued. One of the most striking accounts of his life describes how he spent 1,000 nights in prayer on a rock, his arms raised toward heaven. To most people, this seems impossible. To him, it was devotion. A moment of violence. One day, while working in the forest, Seraphim was attacked by thieves. They thought he had money hidden in his hut. He did not resist. They beat him severely and left him for dead. When they searched his home, they found nothing but a single religious icon. Somehow, he survived. Injured and barely able to move, he returned to the monastery. The attack left him permanently bent and physically weakened, but what followed was even more remarkable. When the attackers were caught, Seraphim asked the court to show them mercy. No anger, no revenge, only forgiveness, years of silence. After recovering, Seraphim returned to the monastery, but not to ordinary life. He shut himself inside a small cell. For 15 years, he lived in almost complete silence, separated from the world. It was a life of deep prayer and reflection. The door opens. Then, in 1825, everything changed. Seraphim opened his door, and people began to come. At first, a few, then many. Soon, crowds gathered to see him, a guide for thousands. The man who had lived in silence for decades became a spiritual guide. People came with suffering, confusion, and questions. Seraphim welcomed them all. He greeted everyone the same way. "My joy." Then he would bow and say, "Christ is risen." He treated everyone equally, rich or poor, educated or simple. In his later years, he gave special care to women, especially the nuns of the Diveyevo convent. He guided them with kindness and attention. To many, he became a source of peace. His final moments. On New Year's Day in 1833, Seraphim attended a church service. He said goodbye to the monks. That night, they heard him singing softly in his cell. The next day, smoke was seen coming from his room. When they opened the door, they found a fallen candle, and there he was, kneeling, still, silent. He had died in prayer. The story of Seraphim of Sarov is not about power, success, or recognition. It is about something quieter. A man who chose silence over noise, forgiveness over anger, and simplicity over everything else. His life leaves us with a simple question: what happens when a person lets go of everything and searches only for inner peace?